Hi, I'm Mr. James. This is All Ages Driving School, Day 6 of the Distance Learning course for Teen Driver's Ed. So let's get started. Alright, so today we're going to talk about sharing the road. Alright, anytime you're out on that roadway, it's not just your car out there. There's also all other types of vehicles and things that you got to look out for when we're out there on the roadway. So you're not alone, so you got to share. So this is what we're going to discuss today. Alright, so sharing the road. To share the roadway safely and effectively, you must observe, anticipate the movement of others, and communicate your intentions. Proper management of time, space, and visibility using a defensive driving system, such as SIPDE, will minimize the risks that are inherent in driving a vehicle in the highway transportation system. Cyclists and motorists. Okay, those are the smallest vehicles out there on the road, so you got to look out for them. So you want to check these vulnerable users before turning, changing lanes, or opening your car door when parked. Make bicyclists aware of your position and your intentions. Tap the horn to communicate from a distance. Be sure to give them plenty of space when passing in the city, and even more when passing in the country, where the higher speed may cause bicyclists problems due to the air turbulence created by your vehicle moving past them. If you ride a bicycle, obey the rules, signs, and signals. Ride with the flow of traffic as far to the right as possible, not more than 2 abreast. Use hand signals to communicate your intentions. Wear light-colored clothing as well as properly fastened safety helmet. Make sure your bicycle is properly equipped with headlights and reflectors if you ride at night. So this is probably going to be on your final exam. One of the questions will be, how should bicyclists ride when riding together? And it should be not more than 2 abreast. Okay, and of course, anytime a bicyclist is on the roadway, they must follow all the rules and regulations of the road as any other vehicle, and you must treat them like any other vehicle. Okay, so even though they're going to be far to the right, you want to give them plenty of room. You don't want to pass them too quickly and too closely. All right, so give them a little space. So cyclists. Persons riding a bicycle upon a roadway are granted all the rights and subject to all the duties applicable to a driver of a vehicle. A bicycle may not carry more persons in which it was designed and equipped. Cyclists must ride as far to the right of the roadway as possible, exercising due care for parked vehicles. Cyclists may not attach themselves or the bike to any other vehicle on the roadway. Motorcyclists. Okay, motorcyclists are just like bicycles, they're just as small. However, they're motorized, so they definitely go faster, and they can be more potentially dangerous. So to operate a motor vehicle in Texas on public roadways, you must possess a valid Texas driver's license with the M endorsement, which stands for motorcycle. It is recommended to wear a proper riding gear, helmet to protect your head, and clothing that offers protection as well as proper ventilation and warmth to prevent hyperthermia and dehydration. Now, when wearing a helmet in Texas, if you're under the age of 21, you must wear a helmet. If you're over the age of 21, it's optional. Why do we got to wear a seatbelt, but they don't have to wear a helmet? I totally understand that confusion. I think it would be a good idea for everyone to wear a helmet because it'll definitely protect you out there on the roadway, but it is optional once you're over the age of 21. So let's go ahead and look over here at this little diagram. So motorcycle riders, all right? These are some of the things that they recommend that you wear when you're out there on a bike in order to protect yourself. Because you have to understand, when you're inside a vehicle, you have the construction of the vehicle that are protecting you as you drive it. However, on a motorcycle, you have none of that protection. So you're actually exposed to all the elements. So that either be cold weather, rain, hail, extreme temperatures such as heat. Yeah, so when you're out there on the roadway, you definitely want to make sure you're prepared with the proper gear when driving a motorcycle. So make sure you have a helmet. Riding gloves are always important. Eye protection, riding boots, long pants, riding jacket, maybe waterproof gear if it's raining. This right here, armor, that's not too many people wear armor. It is kind of pricey, but it'll definitely protect you in case you're in a crash. So large animals, you know, just like motorcyclists and bicycles, they're very vulnerable. Unfortunately, animals do cross the road, and large animals can pose a major risk to drivers out there on the road. So how do we deal with them? So you never want to swerve your vehicle to avoid a deer or other large animals. And the reason that is because if you were to swerve to your right or to your left, and you don't have time to check your blind spots, you may be actually making contact with another vehicle or even a cyclist, and you may end up hurting somebody even more by avoiding that deer by swerving either to your left or to your right. So you never want to swerve in order to avoid an animal. So rather, you should brake firmly until the vehicle is stopped or the speed is reduced as much as possible. If you are unable to stop and a crash is imminent, release the brakes just before impact. Releasing the brakes will cause the front of the vehicle to rise and lessen the likelihood the animal will come onto the hood and crash into the windshield. Anytime you slam on your brakes and you move forward, the front of your vehicle is going to go down. Okay, so when it goes down, if you continue to slam on that brake as you make impact with the animal, that animal is going to roll up onto your hood and make contact with your windshield. If it has antlers or anything very hard that goes through that windshield, it could end up making contact with you and end up killing you. So it's always a good idea, if you know you can't slow down in time, go ahead and take that foot off the brake, allows the hood of your car to go upwards, and more than likely that animal will go underneath the vehicle and not into your windshield in order to protect you. Remember, you are more important than this animal that you may be running over. So human life is always a must that we protect it. Okay, you can minimize the hazard by watching for animals, reduce your speed, leaving as wide a margin of safety as possible. Be especially vigilant at dusk and at night, in fog and in adverse visibility conditions, when signs are posted to warn of animal crossings. So anytime you see an animal crossing sign, just know that that is an area in which animals are known to cross. So you got to be extra vigilant to make sure that when you're driving on that roadway, you're looking out for those animals. Those eyes do kind of reflect a little bit. So as you're driving, kind of notice near the edges of the road if you see any type of reflection or if you see any type of movement of animals. It gives you an indication if an animal is there. So anytime an animal does jump out onto the road, a lot of times they get they freeze, and it's unfortunate. They don't try to get out of the way, but they'll freeze and unfortunately be hitting them. So try to be extra vigilant when you're in those areas. That way you can avoid those type of hazards. All right, so horseback riders. Here in Texas, I know down in San Antonio, there's a lot of horseback riders, especially downtown. You got those horse and carriages. You got individual horseback riders. I know as you move outside the city, there's a lot of people that ride horseback out there in the country. So this is something you do have to look out for, especially when you take a road trip. So how do we deal with horseback riders? When meeting a horseback rider or someone driving a horse drawn wagon, remember that they have the same rights to the road as any motor vehicle occupying one lane. Use caution when approaching or passing a horse, allowing as much room as possible. Proceed slowly and steadily. Pass only when legal and safe. One vehicle should pass at a time. And this is what you do not want to do. Anytime you're near a horse or a horseback rider, do not honk your horn. Don't let people hang out your vehicle waving their arms and making noise. Do not let your dogs bark when passing horses. Do not chase loose horses from a vehicle. Do not accelerate when beside the horse, and do not accelerate quickly after passing the horse. So what do? You want to slow down when passing your horses. Leave at least 2 car widths when passing. Keep at least 2 car lengths between you and the horse. And lastly, if a rider comes off, stop and see if you can be of assistance. All right, so sports utility vehicles. I know sport utility vehicles are very popular. It's one of the more popular vehicles out there on the road, but at the same time, they're also very dangerous. If you're familiar with trucks or SUVs, you'll notice that trucks tend to be a little bit more wider. They're heavy, just like SUVs, but they're wider, and because they're wider, they have a better center of gravity. However, SUVs are a little bit more narrow, kind of like a car, but at the same time, they're higher up off the road, which gives them a higher center of gravity, which make them more prone to rollovers, which make them more dangerous. So let's go ahead and talk about SUVs a little bit. The automobile manufacturing industry has long acknowledged that sport utility vehicles handle differently than cars. Most teens learn to drive in sedans and are unprepared to handle high and heavier SUVs, especially in emergencies. So 37% of SUV drivers younger than 25 in single vehicle crashes have rolled over. Rollovers account for 3% of U.S. crashes, but a third. Okay, a third is 33% of driving deaths. Okay, so that means even though they account only for 3% of all crashes, they do account for a third of all deaths. All right, so teens should be driving the safest vehicle possible when learning how to drive, and an SUV is considered one of the most dangerous vehicles to give a teenager. So go ahead and try to stick with those sedans when you're younger. As you age and become a more experienced driver, then you can start moving up to SUVs. All right, trucks. So when you're out there on the road, you definitely got to look out for trucks, especially 18-wheelers. All right, so trucks transport nearly everything we eat, wear, and use in our daily lives. They are an essential part of Texas' economy. Despite the fact that truck drivers are professionals and are governed by strict rules, they are under tremendous pressure to meet tight scheduling requirements to deliver the goods and then pick up their load. All right, so you're going to see a lot of truck drivers out there on the road, especially on the freeway. Anytime you're around a truck, you definitely have to take precautions. So we're going to talk about that a little bit. So in this video right here, we're going to talk about what you need to look for and how you react around 18-wheelers. So let's get started.
Out on the road, lives are at stake. There are 400,000 large truck accidents every year. In 2010, 3,675 people died in these accidents. 529 truck occupants, 356 pedestrians and cyclists, and 2,790 other vehicle occupants in cars, light trucks, or motorcycles. 9 out of every 10 fatal or injury truck crashes involve passenger vehicles. And 1 in 9 traffic fatalities result from collision with a large truck. Sharing the road is a matter of life or death for all drivers. Here are 10 tips for being alert and practicing patience to prevent accidents. As a truck driver, you should know these tips so you can drive defensively and stay safe on the road. Tip number 1. Avoid blind spots. Make sure the truck driver can see you in his mirrors. Passenger vehicles are 2.7 times more likely to rear-end large trucks than vice versa, mostly due to poor visibility. A third of fatal crashes between cars and large trucks occur in these 4 blind spots, by rear-ending, underride, or sideswiping. Tip number 2. Pass trucks with caution. Pass on the left side for maximum visibility and maintain a constant speed. Tip number 3. Don't linger near the truck. Give trucks plenty of space to avoid dangerous scenarios. Tire blowouts can cause tire shreds to fly through your windshield. High winds can make the truck roll over. Sudden braking can cause rear-ending or sliding under the trailer. Your following distance should be at least 4 seconds. Tip number 4. Don't cut trucks off. Be sure to leave plenty of buffer room when you pull in front of a truck. Large trucks simply can't stop as quickly as cars. There are 3 parts to stopping distance. Perception distance is when you realize the need to brake. Reaction distance is the time to move your foot to the brake pedal. And braking distance is the time it takes for the brakes to take effect. A 5,000-pound car traveling at 55 miles per hour can take 140 feet to safely stop. An 80,000-pound semi can take 300 feet or more to safely stop from the same speed. Tip number 5. Allow space between the trailer and curb. You may see truck drivers move away from the curb or swing wide when preparing to turn right. During a turn, rear wheels follow a shorter path than the front wheels. The longer the vehicle, the greater the difference. Don't rush into this space to make your own turn. You could end up hit or trapped between the truck and curb. Tip number 6. Practice patience. Try to be predictable. Avoid making erratic moves if a truck isn't going as fast as you'd like. Never try to speed around a truck that's backing up. Tip number 7. Lower your brights. Bright headlights reflecting off large side mirrors can blind the truck driver. A good rule of thumb is to dim your lights when you come within 1 block of an oncoming vehicle. 2 seconds of blindness at 55 miles per hour means the truck travels more than half the distance of a football field. Tip number 8. Signal sooner. Trucks require more time and distance to slow down and stop, so signal early when changing lanes, stopping, or turning near a large truck. Signal at least 3 seconds before you make your move, or a little earlier when traveling at high speeds. Tip number 9. Merge with care. Avoid merging in front of a truck when traffic ahead may stop or slow. If a truck passes you, decelerate slightly to minimize passing time. Tip number 10. Pay attention. The most common distractions are cell phones, passengers daydreaming, reaching for an item, and rubbernecking. In 2010, distraction contributed to nearly 2 out of every 10 injury crashes and 9 out of every 10 fatal crashes. Semi-trucks are generally safer than cars, and they get in fewer accidents. But a collision between a car and a large truck can be deadly due to force and weight. While traffic accidents involving cars and trucks are likely to continue to occur, the best way to attack this problem is with better defensive driving techniques. Driver Solutions is taking an active role to help minimize truck accidents by offering high-quality CDL training that includes emphasis on accident awareness and defensive driving skills. Check out the CDL training opportunities at greatcdltraining.com.
All right, so those are great tips in order for you to be safe around large 18-wheelers. All right, so in the video it talked about no zones. No zones are basically areas in which these 18-wheelers cannot see you. So go ahead and let's look at this diagram right here. All right, so this is the head of the truck. All right, so for a good distance out in front of them, they cannot see below their hood. Okay, now over here to their right, they have a huge no zone because their mirror can only see so much. So this right here is their blind spot on their right side. On their left side, their blind spot's a little bit smaller because they're able to look over their shoulder, but this is their blind spot right here. And of course, for a long distance back here, this is their no zone behind them. The rule of thumb is that you want to stay as far back as possible to where you can see their mirrors. If you could see their mirrors, and then they can see you. And that's the whole idea. So construction vehicles and farm machinery, you'll see those out there on the roadway. Construction vehicles are found in and near construction zones. Farm machinery is found in rural areas and country roads along state highways. All right, so how do we adapt? All right, you do not want to tailgate them. Like large trucks, they have no zones. The driver may not see you in the side mirrors. Leave a longer interval when following. Keep a safe distance between your vehicle and a slow moving vehicle. This sign right here, the orange triangle, that's the slow moving emblem that you're going to find on the back of these type of vehicles. All right, so what do you do if you're involved in a crash? All right, if you're involved in a crash, after a collision, the law requires that you stop immediately at the side of the road unless the vehicle is so damaged it cannot be moved. All right, Texas law does not require a crash report when there is only property damage of less than $1,000. Now, if there's any injury or death, you must make a crash report. If injury or death, it is required by law to provide assistance, and the best way to do that is to call 911 and request an ambulance. If you're CPR first aid certified, go ahead and administer assistance if necessary. Provide your ID and your insurance information to the other party and police officer upon arrival. And you must notify your insurance company of the collision. That is a must. All right, so what to do when pulled over by a police officer? So we're going to go ahead and watch a video that's required by law. That's part of the Community Safety Education Act. So let's go ahead and watch that now.
Hello, I'm State Senator Royce West. Today I'd like to discuss with you the Community Safety Education Act, legislation designed to define the behavioral expectation of law enforcement and citizens during traffic interactions. More specifically, there's been issues that have arose over the last few years concerning in the interaction between law enforcement and citizens. In many instances, there have been fatalities as a result of this interaction. And so we believed in Texas that to come up with behavior expectations for those types of interactions would be most appropriate. Towards that particular end, we've assembled a group of stakeholders, law enforcement, civil rights organizations, to come up with what we believe should be a set of behavioral expectations during those interactions. And so those behavior expectations have been set forth in our driver's license manual. So when a person studies for their driver's license test, they will have to cover that content. And yes, you should expect at least one, maybe two questions on the driver's license test to cover that particular content. In addition, we decided to make certain that we embed it in the DNA of the state. The way we have gone about doing that, we've placed it in our school system and requiring, yes, mandating that students between the grades of 9 through 12 get that content, that is the behavior expectation, know what their rights are, and know if they want to compliment or either complain about a police officer, exactly how you go about doing that. In addition, we have placed that in our driver education courses as well as our police academies. The reason for doing this is to make certain that to the best extent possible, everyone is on the same page in terms of what are the behavioral expectations when stopped by a police officer. Heretofore, police officers understood what the behavior expectations were, but citizens haven't understood it. And so by making this simple change, we believe that we've incorporated into the DNA of our state, and by doing that we can make these types of interactions safer for all concerned. This is State Senator Royce West. Thank you.
Okay, please go faster because I am running late. I will not.
I'm going as fast as I can.
Please, just go through the light. Just don't let that light turn red.
Okay, fine. I think we're getting pulled over.
What? Are you serious?
Yes.
Oh no.
Obviously, if I go over the speed limit, we're gonna get pulled over.
Passenger, put your hands on the dash. Passenger,
Ma'am,
passenger, put your hands on the dashboard.
Thank you.
Thanks, Anna.
Driver, put your hands on the steering wheel. My name is Deputy Larry Hatch, Travis County Precinct 1. The reason why I stopped you is speeding 45 and 35. You have your driver's license and proof of insurance, ma'am? Thank you. Sit tight for a second, I'll be right back with you. You'll be asked to sign a citation.
This isn't saying that you agree. It's just saying that you're going to follow up with the court.
Now you're going to be issued a citation for speeding 45 and 35. It's not a admission of guilt, but a promise to appear to court. You sign right here at the last line, at the bottom line right there.
You will get a copy with all the information you need.
You'll receive a notice in the mail. You got 30 days to appeal. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Dr. Penn. The video you just watched is intended to show you what not to do when you're stopped by a police officer. But what is the right thing to do? How should you as a citizen handle the situation? We've asked a cross-section of high school students and ordinary citizens to help us out by asking some of the typical questions that you might have about the right way to handle yourself if and when you get pulled over. Let's get right to it.
What does the officer expect to see when he approaches our car?
Officers don't always have a clear view into your vehicle. Keep your hands visible, don't move around, don't reach for anything. For example, you can place your hand on the steering wheel in the 10 and the 2 position. That makes sense? Take a deep breath, breathe, relax, wait for the officer to approach, and he'll give you further instructions. If it's dark, turn the overhead light on.
Why does the officer tell us to roll down our windows? What's that all about?
On a traffic stop, the officer may ask you to roll down your windows for his or her own safety. Under certain circumstances, when there's not a great deal of illumination or when the windows have a tint, the officer may require you to roll down the windows to identify anybody who may be in the back seat.
What happens if I don't want to show you my driver's license or tell you who I am?
If you refuse to show your driver's license to an officer when he stops you on a traffic stop, the officer can arrest you for refusing to show your driver's license. And under certain circumstances, if probable cause exists, the officer may also require the passengers to identify themselves.
What happens if I don't have my driver's license with me? Will I be arrested? What if I just forgot it at home?
An officer can usually verify that you have a license once he obtains basic information from you. Depending on local law, you may be arrested, but most likely you will only get a citation.
Do I have to get out of my car? I'm not a criminal.
Most of the time, an officer will actually get out of the vehicle for safety. You will be amazed how many times an officer and/or his vehicle are struck by another driver while conducting a traffic stop. If the officer asks you to get out of the vehicle, it's for your safety and also for his. Put it this way, nobody wants to be standing 6 inches from the highway with their back to traffic.
What if I'm a passenger in a stopped car? Can I ask questions?
Many times passengers want to get involved with what's going on. Generally, we're only going to speak with the driver unless a passenger has done something wrong. The officer should only conduct business with the driver. It's up to the driver to pass on the information to the passenger.
Is forgetting to use my signal or going a few miles over the speed limit really a big deal?
Traffic law is all about everyone's safety. Most of the time, officers look for traffic violations in areas where there have been accidents, citizen complaints about traffic, or areas known to be dangerous like construction zones, narrow streets, hills, blind curves, that sort of thing. When an officer makes a traffic stop, it is about getting people to drive safer. So sometimes, yes, not using that signal can be a big issue. Think about the last time someone didn't signal and cut you off.
Why should I sign a ticket? I don't want to look like I agree with it.
Look at the ticket as a personal recognizance bond. You're signing it to say you will contact the court so you can be released to go on your way. If you don't sign the ticket, then you can be arrested and taken to see the magistrate at the jail.
Okay, so I signed the ticket. What happens next?
The law says you have to be given at least 10 days to contact the court to state what you plan on doing. At this point, you have options you can discuss with the court. You can ask to go to trial and have a judge decide your case. Some courts allow you to plead no contest and take defensive driving courses to then have the ticket dismissed. Or you can just pay the fine. If you don't have the money right away, almost every court will work with you to set up a payment plan. There are other options that you may have that vary court by court. The big thing is to ask and be sure to do it before the time set on your citation.
What if I think the officer acted inappropriately or was rude or didn't have a reason to stop me?
Hey, if you think the officer acted inappropriately, was rude, or didn't have a reason to stop you, remember, you can take it to court. A court will have the final say on whether or not you violated the law. If it's about the officer's behavior or treatment, please contact that officer's employing agency. They have investigators that will contact you and they will thoroughly investigate the complaint. Don't forget that most officers in this state and even across the country now have either in-car cameras with audio or on body-worn cameras with audio, so that will be the beginning point of the investigation. After the department investigates your concern or complaint, they will contact you, let you know what the results were, what their findings were, and let you know what action, if any, was taken.
Do I have to let an officer search me or my car?
You have the right to deny a consent search of your car, and even if you say yes, you can change your mind at any time. A consent search means that the officer is asking you for permission to search your car. However, if the officer has probable cause to search, they not need consent. As far as a person, an officer can frisk a car. For example, if you are asked to get out, the officer can look inside before you get back in to see if there is a weapon within reach of the driver.
So now you have a better idea of how to handle the situation. Let's wrap things up and take another look at our traffic stop and how it could have turned out better.
We had pizza yesterday.
Right. No hamburgers, because I don't eat red meat.
That's right. Got a non-meat eater over here.
What about snappy salads?
Ooh, snappy salads.
Yeah,
talking my language now.
I haven't been there in a long time.
What you gonna get?
Salmon on it.
Yes, ma'am.
Make my own half snap. Salmon.
Hey, this man have brake lights on?
Doesn't look like it.
I didn't see brake lights on that one. So, you're getting pulled over.
Don't panic. It happens.
Put on your signal and look for a safe place to pull off the road.
Bravo 742 traffic. It's going to be a Texas tag. George King 430 Lincoln. Occupied. If you can get into a parking lot, great.
Put your car in park. Roll down your windows.
Turn off your engine.
Keep your hands on the steering wheel and wait for the officer.
You will be asked to show your driver's license and insurance.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, officer.
Officer Opros, Dallas Police Department. You're being stopped today because your brake lights are out. Is there any reason your brake lights are out this evening?
No, sir. I didn't realize it was out.
May I see your driver's license and proof?
Do what the officer asks. If you have to reach into your console, let him know you're about to do it. They're in my console. Let me grab them.
Okay, go ahead.
Here you go, officer.
Thank you, sir. I'll be right back with you, okay, sir?
Yes, sir.
The officer may ask you to get out the car.
Just follow the instructions.
Stand where you're asked. It will be the safest place. Stay out of the car until you are told to get back in.
So where are you coming from tonight?
I'm coming from class. I had an exam today.
What kind of exam?
I had a history exam.
History exam.
Yes.
How did you do?
I think I did pretty well. We will not find out until tomorrow.
Oh, well, good luck.
Yeah, thank you. I
hope
appreciate
you did
it.
well also.
I hope I did too.
I wasn't very good in history.
No?
No.
What's your favorite subject?
Math.
Math? Not really that smart for math, but hopefully you get math a lot more than what I do. Wait for the officer to tell you it's okay to leave.
All right, sir. Here's your driver's license and insurance back.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, you're all set. Just a warning for the brake lights. You're free to go.
Thank you, sir.
Drive safe.
Thank you. You have a great night.
You too.
Have a good night.
You have a great night, ma'am.
Thank you.
Look for a safe spot to leave. Usually the officer will wait for you to leave first.
On behalf of all the state and local partners that brought you this training video, thank you for watching. And safe travels across the great state of Texas.
We just want to keep everyone safe and get to our home at the end of the day.
All right, so now that we've watched our video, let's go ahead and talk about your assignment for today. All right, so day 6 assignment. You are to read chapter 6 from your textbook. Okay, remember this is your textbook right here. If you don't have a textbook, make sure you get one from your local all ages driving school. I left contact information for the owner, Asif. You can call his number or you can email him and he'll make arrangements to go ahead and get you a textbook as soon as possible. Also, you want to go ahead and complete exercise A from your workbook for chapter 6. Okay, and you can find the workbook on our resources page. And you go ahead and email your completed assignment to Mr. James at mrjamesdriversed@gmail.com. So if you haven't filled out the form yet for distance learning, go ahead and fill out that form and send it to me ASAP. And if you have any questions, feel free to email me. I'll see you tomorrow.